Welcome to Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, the #1 podcast and resource for Black entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and Black Entrepreneur Blueprint was created specifically to educate and inspire Black entrepreneurs to launch, build, and grow successful, sustainable businesses. Join us as we help build an economic power base in the worldwide Black community by building and supporting Black-owned businesses. If you're currently an entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur, you're invited to join us each and every week here at Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Welcome to the BEB family and get ready to elevate your entrepreneur IQ. Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, episode number 474. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and today we have another outstanding and informative show in store for you. Today's show topic is why Blacks buy from other ethnicities and no other ethnicities buy from Blacks. Why Blacks buy from other ethnicities and no other ethnicities buy from Blacks. Black consumer buying power is actually projected to reach $1.8 trillion with a T, trillion dollars by 2024. But sadly, only 2 cents out of every dollar that we hold in our hands is spent with a Black-owned business. Now, my question is, why do Black people feel it's okay to buy from other ethnicities when other ethnicities don't buy from Black-owned businesses? We just continue to allow this to happen. So on today's show, I'm going to discuss and dissect the mindset of Black consumers, and I'm going to give you guys several actions we can take to reshape our consumer spending habits, to improve our own community, and to help build wealth. In 2023, guys, I always put a lot into my shows, but I'm trying to make a concerted effort to do shows that are impactful, things that can move the needle, be it for your business, be it for your personal life, be it for Black economic empowerment, for whatever. I'm trying to be super impactful. And today is a show that I really want you guys to hone in on. Do me a favor. Please share this episode with all of your network, be it family, friends, or whatever, because I think it's super important for us if we're going to try to change our economic status. Now, before we get to today's content, I just want to share a few things with the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint family. First and foremost, I want to welcome all first-time listeners to Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Welcome to the BEB family. Please stick around until the end of today's podcast, and I'm going to share all my social media contact information and resource links, such as the link to my latest book, Unlocking the Power of ChatGPT, the Ultimate Prompting Handbook for Beginners. You can go to unlockingchatgpt.com for more information. Unlockingchatgpt.com for more information. Also, don't forget to take advantage of the 3 days free access to BEB Academy, which is our online learning portal that's going to help you elevate your entrepreneur IQ. Now, we have all types of online courses, masterclasses, resources, PDF downloads designed specifically to help you move from point A to point B. We have content that focuses on marketing, e-commerce, scaling your business, and anything that you need to help, once again, elevate your entrepreneur IQ. In order to get your free 3-day access to BEB Academy, just go to the website blackentrepreneurblueprint.com, and it's on the top part of the website. Go to blackentrepreneurblueprint.com and click on BEB Academy and get your 3 days free access. All right, guys, let's jump into today's content, and we're talking about why Blacks buy from other ethnicities and no other ethnicities buy from Blacks. And just to set up today's show, so basically I'm going to discuss and dissect our mindset as it pertains to being a consumer. And I'm actually going to give you 7 actions that you can take today to change our current situation. Now, remember, we need to work communally as a group, because if only a few people do this, nothing is really going to change. But where do you start? You start at home. You start with yourself. And once again, please share this episode with all of your network. This is a super impactful show that I think everybody in our community needs to listen to. So let me start off with some statistics. Now, Black people spend $2 billion a year on Air Jordans, B as in billion, $2 billion a year on Jordans, $4 billion a year on liquor, $20 billion a year in hair care and beauty products that we don't own or manufacture or even retail. And we spend over $1 billion a year on fast food. Let me just repeat these again so you guys will understand where I'm coming from. We spend $2 billion a year on Air Jordans. These are just Jordans, not counting all the other sneakers and brands out there. $4 billion on liquor, $20 billion in hair care and beauty products, and $1 billion in fast food. Once again, in 2024, it's estimated that we're going to be able to have $1.8 trillion coming out of the black community just in the United States itself. So think about that, $1.8 trillion. But what are we doing with that $1.8 trillion? Here's the sad part of the equation, though. Every other ethnicity is counting on you to continue doing what you're doing, which is shopping outside of your community, while all the other ethnicities shop within their communities. Are you understanding and following what I'm saying? Many other ethnicities and cultures understand that it's important and necessary to support your own people. So I don't care if it's Asian, Indian, Latino, or whoever, it's something that's culturally ingrained to buy from and support their own ethnic businesses. And this is something that we need to focus on, because what we have become, guys, are super consumers. We're super consumers and we make everybody else rich. You heard the old saying, the American dream, right? So when people come over here from different places, other countries, from other nations, they're getting their American dream. But guess what? It's built on your backs because you've been conditioned to become a super consumer. You don't produce a damn thing, but you sure do consume. I'm telling you, and we're going to discuss that, and I'm going to give you guys 7 actions that are going to help turn this thing around. So the first question I want to ask is, why are black people top consumers, but we lack when it comes to wealth building? And this is a study that was done by Nielsen. And they say that the 2 primary factors are, number 1, lack of access to resources and financial education, and number 2, expensive spending habits. So let's talk about number 1, lack of access to resources and financial education. So financial literacy isn't high among African American adults in general, but in a study, black people answered 38% of financial literacy questions correctly, and only 28% answered more than half correctly. And this is from a study by Nielsen. I'm going to repeat that. Black people only answered 38% of the financial literacy questions correctly, and only 28% answered more than half correctly. So only 28% of people got 50% or more for black folks. So it says low financial literacy also influences buying and investing habits. Black people have a tendency to get rid of assets too early or not acquire them at all, according to a research study. Now, these barriers hinder sound financial decision making as well as good financial management. So the question was, why do black people, or why are we top consumers, but we lack when it comes to building wealth? Number 1, I just read, lack of access to resources and financial education. Number 2, this is something that's super important, expensive spending habits. So it says that the data shows that black people like to shop. However, too much of a reliance on consumer products and services rather than producing them. We are super consumers. So we consume and we don't even think about producing. Nielsen reported that 52% of black people find in-store shopping relaxing compared to 26% of the total population. 52% of us find in-store shopping relaxing compared to 26% of the total population. And about half of black consumers say they enjoy wandering the stores looking for new or interesting products. You're looking for ways to take money out of your pocket. So you're using shopping to placate what's going on. And this happens a lot. And we're going to talk about it a little later on. So many times if you're feeling depressed, you're not making money or whatever, you'll go out and spend money you don't have to buy something to quote unquote make you feel better. But in real life, what you've done is you just put yourself in a worse situation. Oh, I'm going to go out and buy this 65-inch flat screen, it's on sale for $350 when you know you got your car payment of $650 due in 2 weeks and you don't have that money. Once again, we're super consumers, guys, and we have to stop that. Now, one of the reasons is the role of marketing when it comes to black consumption practices. This is also from Nielsen. It says a Nielsen report stated that black consumer spending is highly influenced by advertising. Black people reported being 42% more likely than the rest of American population to respond to mobile ads. They're also more likely to respond to ads on television, radio, and the internet. So this is how marketing influences us. It also says African Americans are more likely than the total population to agree that advertising provides meaningful information on most platforms, including mobile, which we look at 42% higher, television, which we consume at 23% higher than the average, and radio, which we consume at 21% higher, and the internet, which we consume at 18% higher. Consume. I've been using that word all throughout the beginning of this podcast, and I'm only like 11 minutes in because we are super consumers. And one of the reasons is it's the marketing and how it affects our consumer practices. Now, let's talk about some other findings that we have in this Nielsen report. And then later on in today's show, I'm going to break down and give you guys 7 actions that we can take today individually and also collectively to help build up our situation or turn around our situation of being super consumers and never producing anything. And not just never producing anything, you don't even want to produce anything. You know, I get it. There's financial constraints or things that may hold you back, but we're going to talk about how you can be a producer later on in today's show, and it's not going to take a lot of money. So here's a couple of things. It says physical appearance reflects a sense of cultural pride and self-expression in the black community. This is evidenced by the top spending priorities for African Americans, from everyday soap to luxury handbags. So, and I'm going to give you some stats. So you want to wear your money on your back and your feet, or you want to drive it around so you can show somebody, hey, look, I've got money. All right. We'll talk about that a little later, but here's some stats. African Americans outspend the total market on personal soap and bath needs by nearly 19%, 573.6 million. So we outspend the total market on personal soap and bath needs by nearly 20%. Okay. And remember, in the United States, these are where these numbers are from. What do we make up? 14% of the population. Okay. Men are making an impact with grooming habits, outpacing the total market by 20% on toiletry items. So now that's a burgeoning market. You see men with beard oil, all types of different things that men are getting into now when it comes to grooming habits and consumer goods. Another stat, blacks are 20% more likely than the total population to say that they will pay extra for a product that is consistent with the image that they want to convey. I'm going to repeat that. Blacks are 20% more likely than the total population to say that they'll pay extra for a product that is consistent with the image they want to convey. So you want to look like a baller, you're going to drive a Mercedes, BMW, Audi, whatever. All right. You probably don't have 2 nickels in the bank. I'm talking to somebody out here. All right. And I'm speaking from love. All right. You want to look like you got money. I saw this little kid on Instagram. He must have been 2 years old, and I guess his parents thought this was cute, but he was 2 years old. He had a Gucci shirt, Gucci belt, Gucci jeans, and little ass Gucci sneakers, and he's sitting there, and they're like, yeah, look at my son, blah, blah, blah. He ain't going to be able to wear those in about another month to 6 weeks, all right? Stupidity, and it doesn't make a damn bit of sense. You setting this kid up for failure. All right. And yeah, I'm coming off a little harsh, but I'm serious about this nonsense. It's time to stop, man. All right. Here's another stat. Black people are more likely to say they shop at high-end stores, including Saks Fifth Avenue, Neiman Marcus, Bloomingdale's, Gucci, Prada, than any other different ethnicity. So 63% of Saks Fifth Avenue. Neiman Marcus, 45%. Bloomingdale's, 24%. Gucci, 37%. So they're more likely to say they shop at high-end stores. Once again, because there's a self-esteem issue that you need to show somebody what you got, you're going to go overboard. And what it's doing is it's affecting building wealth. Because you're not building wealth, you're wasting money. And we're going to get on that a little later. So that was one statistic. We just talked about how physical appearance reflects a sense of cultural pride and self-expression in the black community. Here's something else that came out of the Nielsen study. While online shopping grows, African Americans continue to head to physical stores for the personal touch and feel experience, but with more discerning eyes. Now, I get that. Some people like to touch, smell, taste, whatever. But what happens to all the black-owned businesses that don't have physical locations? Many of us start businesses and they're e-commerce businesses without physical locations. So if we don't have the access for people to see our products and services, if we like that in-store shopping experience, that's going to preclude you from buying or finding products that black people own or market that are not in physical stores. And it's hell getting into some of these physical stores, and it takes a lot of money to open your own store. So let's look at some of the stats. More than half, 52% of African Americans find in-store shopping relaxing compared to 26% of the total population. 55% of black consumers say they enjoy wandering the store looking for new and interesting products. And the last statistic is when shopping, African Americans are more influenced than the total population by the store staff. So we're 34% more likely to be influenced by the store staff. We're also 28% more likely to be influenced by store advertising and 27% more likely to be influenced by merchandising. So we like to see it, feel it, touch it. We like that experience. Okay. Now, you can go into some stores and you can have a bad experience, right? You want to ask Jim Jones when he went into Gucci. So if you've seen that about a year or so ago, Jim Jones was all pissed off because he went into Gucci and he did a live video and he was like, man, you know, they're not treating me right. I'm trying to spend 26 racks. You know, you know why, Jim? They don't want your business. They don't want you there, but you're so silly that you have to say, guess what? I'm going to give you my money anyway. You can disrespect me all you want. You can treat me like a second-class citizen. And guess what? I'm still going to give you my money because you're Gucci. And I need this Gucci on to make me look better and in turn feel better. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. If somebody doesn't respect you as a consumer, as a customer, why are you going to spend money there? It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. These brands tell you a lot of times they don't want to be associated with you because you, quote unquote, bring their brand down. You take away all the greatness of the brand because now you're wearing stuff now that was designed for people that are not you, and you're changing the image of that brand. Timberlands, right? You know, they talked about Gloria Vanderbilt. A lot of these designers have talked about why they didn't design these products for you, but you're still going there and buying them and making these families and these companies rich. So that's another statistic. And I'm going to get to the 7 actions that we can take shortly. So let's look at one more group of stats from Nielsen. And it says the for us, by us trend of black-owned brands is profoundly impacting the African-American path to purchase and consumer marketplace. So black consumers support brands that align with their lifestyle and values. Now, listen to some of these statistics. African Americans dominate the ethnic hair and beauty aid category, accounting for almost 90% of the overall spend. And guess what? We have very few manufacturers and we barely have any retail outlets. Every time you go, and my wife, if she's out, hey, I need to stop at the hair care store, we don't have any black ones around there. Most of them are Korean owned. They have them on lock. Koreans have that ethnic hair care industry on lock so much. The trade magazines are written in English and Korean. Okay. That's how much on lock they have that. Okay, so we actually account for 90% of the overall spend. 42% of black adults expect brands they purchase to support social causes, which is 16% higher than the total population. So we want to support brands that have a social component to them. The next stat is 35% of African American shoppers are more likely to agree when a celebrity designs a product. They are more likely to buy it. When a celebrity designs a product, they are more likely to buy it. Once again, that's advertising, that's marketing. We're influenced by that. I talked about a stat earlier that said how much more time we spend on social media and in media in general, the internet, radio, television, all of that. So when there's a celebrity endorser, we tend to spend 35% more. So I threw a whole bunch of stats at you guys, but the bottom line is this. As I said at the beginning of the show, we're super consumers. We're influenced by marketing and advertising. We want to have the best. We spend more money on luxury items per capita than any other ethnicity, and we are on the absolute bottom of the totem pole when it comes to wealth, especially here in the United States. The racial wealth gap is real. And there's a reason that we're on the bottom, and a lot of it has to do with systemic things, systemic racism, and I'm not going to get into all of that right now. We all know what goes on, but that doesn't mean that we have to stay there. In order to get from the bottom, there's certain things that we need to do and that we can do to bring ourselves up. And action number one, educate ourselves about what our current situation is so we can move forward. You know, there's an old saying that says, you don't know where you're going if you don't know where you came from, right? So look at where we are right now. Assess the situation. Where are we and where do we want to go and what do we need to do to get there? Okay, so there's so much education and information out there. And I'm going to say something that I always say that my mom raised me saying is remember the source. When you get information, remember the source of that information. All information isn't good information, okay? So here's some sources that you can count on. So you might want to start reading Powernomics by Dr. Claude Anderson, one of the greatest minds in economics and black economic empowerment. All right, Powernomics by Claude Anderson. Another good read is a book called The Color of Money, Black Banks and the Racial Wealth Gap by Mercer Baradaran, but you can just Google The Color of Money. Another good book to read is The Color of Law, or Forgotten History of How Our Government Segregated America by Richard Rothstein. So you think segregation just happened, but it was designed. And lastly, The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander, which focuses on the prison industrial complex. So you need to educate yourselves about where our current situation is so we can move forward. And you have to understand when you read books like I just gave you, it actually uncovers the tricks and the secrets to what is happening in our community. And I know we all know superficially on the top what it is, but when you start really digging into it and educating yourself and reading, there's not a lot of stuff that happens by happenstance. It's designed. And once you understand how ingrained and how insidious this system is as it pertains to us black folk, then you'll really start to know and understand that, yo, this is real. This is real. And you got to go deeper than the surface level and understand. And these are several good books that can help you do that. So action number one, educate ourselves about what our current situation is so we can move forward. So if you don't know, our current situation is we're on the bottom of the racial wealth gap. Every other ethnicity in the United States is above us. And there's reasons for that. Okay. Number two, action number two, become financially literate. All right. It said, why are black people top consumers, but we lack in building wealth? And it says lack of access to resources and financial education. So financial literacy isn't high among black adults. Okay. And that's something we have to change. You have to educate yourself about debt, credit, investing, buying assets, starting a business, living below your means, just simple budgeting. And so the reason most people don't follow their dreams, guys, is because they're in debt. So if you want to say, hey, I want to be a recording artist, guess what? It's probably going to be hard if you don't have an income stream coming in while you're chasing that dream. I want to write a book, but I need to focus full time on research and writing. If you don't have income coming in, it's going to be hard to do that. And many times what precludes us or stops us from following those dreams is because we got a nut we got to hit every month. We got a rent or mortgage. We got car notes. We got student loans or whatever. And you may need to bring in, I'm making this up off the top of my head, $5,000 a month. And now you have to work maybe 1 or 2 jobs and you can't focus on what God designed you to do. But we have to become financially literate, guys. And once again, I'm going to say, remember the source. All right. You want to get your education from somebody that has done it before or somebody that is qualified to teach it. There's a lot of nuts out here on the internet talking all kinds of stuff they've never done before or giving you bad advice. And I'm not going to call out any names, but if you scour the internet, you're going to see cats out here telling you to do fraudulent things to get bank loans and fix your credit and all of that stuff fraudulently. There's a right way to fix your credit, and then there's wrong ways to do it. You know, creating a false police report is not the right way to do it. Okay. So once again, remember the source, but you have to become financially literate. Action number 3 that we can take to improve our situation. And what we're talking about today, guys, is why blacks buy from other ethnicities and no other ethnicities buy from blacks. And here's some of the things that we can do to improve our economic standing. Number 3, start using your income to create revenue producing assets instead of spending it on stuff. I'm going to repeat this. Start using your income to create revenue producing assets instead of spending it on stuff. And that's the nice word that I'm going to put in, not the word that I would normally say in my private life. But you got it. So we're using income and we're buying stuff instead of buying assets. So we're buying the newest Mercedes. We're buying crazy designer clothes. And let me preface this. It's nothing wrong with having good things, but you got to understand where you are right now in your financial journey. All right. If you're not ready to handle a car payment for Mercedes-Benz or maintenance for Mercedes-Benz, you're not ready for it yet. You can get there. If you want to spend, $1,000 on a pair of Bobo looking sneakers with Balenciaga on the side, it's nothing wrong with that if you got the money, but you may not be there yet. So start using your income to create revenue producing assets that are going to allow you to live the lifestyle you want. So instead of taking your tax return and buying, just say, a big ass TV for $4,000, one of them 85 or 90 inch joints, you could have taken that money and you could put it in something else that can produce income for you. People are taking tax returns, starting businesses, right? You can take, if your tax return is big enough, you may be able to put a down payment on a investment property. I've seen tax returns, because I'm in the mortgage business. I've seen tax returns, people getting $30,000, $40,000 back in taxes. Now, most times they're entrepreneurs. You usually don't get those tax breaks when you're what I call a civilian and you work a W-2 job. But when you have a lot of expenses and you write stuff off, many times you're able to get monies back. So start using that income to create revenue producing assets. Even if it's not a one-time source of income like a tax return, your income from your job can be used to create assets or revenue producing assets. So I know a lot of people who work the 9 to 5, but they invest in real estate on the side. So I have a good friend of mine. He probably has over 30 years. He's probably got about 50 some odd properties, single family homes that he rents out. Some Airbnb and some for long time renters. And so you got to start understanding that you need to use income to create revenue. Here's one of the things. This is a personal story. I remember one time, this was years ago, my wife and I were getting a tax return back, and it literally was $12,000, right? And so she was like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna put up $10,000 for this, just for savings or whatever." And I get that, but we built, me and my wife were built differently when it comes to that. And then we're going to take the $2,000 and pay off this credit card. I said, well, how about we take $10,000 and we do something that's going to generate revenue as opposed to just letting it sit there. And I actually took that $10,000 and I started a small advertising business that actually produced over $200,000 in revenues over a 3-year period. And the seed to that was that tax return. So instead of letting the money just sit there, and I get it, some people, if you don't have savings, you want to have that emergency fund, but start taking your income or your lump sums you're getting and start using it to create revenue producing assets. I'm telling you, that's how wealth is built, guys. A lot of times, and it's all about your tolerance too. A lot of times people are super conservative. Oh, I got $8,000 back from the IRS. I'm going to stick it in a CD or whatever. That's fine and dandy. You're not going to make any money. You're not going to lose any. But how can that money be used? How can you leverage that money to make money? All right. So now if, you did what my wife said and we kept that $10,000 there, it would have been, and this was 20 years ago, it might be worth what, $14,000 now or whatever, as opposed to being able to generate over $200,000 in 3 years. Take number 3, start using your income to create revenue producing assets instead of just spending it. Action number 4, change your mindset from being a super consumer to a producer. Change your mindset from being a super consumer to a producer. Stop being on the wrong side of every transaction, guys, and get on the producer side by starting your own business or a side hustle or whatever. Once again, there's a consumer and then there's a producer. The producers make money off of the consumer. Don't you want to be on the other side of that transaction sometimes? Now, we as people, we have to consume. So we have to buy food, clothing, shelter. So we're always going to be a consumer. The problem is we don't balance it off by producing anything. All right. What do we currently produce as a people? Nothing. Damn near absolutely nothing. Very few manufacturing facilities and production facilities for our products and services. All right. So you're probably saying, all right, Jay, well, what can I produce? So I'm not saying that you have to have a physical factory, because even the big companies, they subcontract out with co-packers. So you go to the supermarket and you look at products on the shelf. Now, certain brands don't have manufacturing facilities at, in-house. They contract out their manufacturing and stay nimble. Now, you may want to create a manufacturing facility or you may want to subcontract it out. So with my hot sauce, I came up with the formulation, but I don't have a factory to produce it. So I contracted 3 what they call co-packers to take my recipes and reproduce my recipes and bottle and label my hot sauce. So I don't personally manufacture it. I have a subcontractor or a co-packer that manufactures for me. And you'll find that many brands, especially burgeoning or newer brands, do this because of the cost of manufacturing. But you can manufacture anything. I talked about creating a manufacturing company and calling it the No Name brand, but I think somebody took that and start manufacturing or producing, innocuous things like toothpicks, cotton balls, Q-tips, Band-Aids, toothbrushes, or whatever. And being a manufacturer of that, it doesn't have to be something crazy, but that's something that actually is on my to-do list, and I hopefully will get a chance to do that. Number 4, change your mindset from being a super consumer to a producer. So when it comes to owning and producing, it doesn't just have to be a physical product. If you want to be a producer, okay, you can sell your physical products, your digital products, or your services, and you can be considered a producer. Your physical products, your digital products, or your services. So once again, stop being a consumer and change your mindset of that of a producer. Action number 5 you can take. Change your mindset about your self-esteem. I'm going to get a little deep here. As I mentioned earlier, many times because of the history of black folk in the United States, We were belittled. We were made to feel less than. We weren't even considered human at one point in time from the slave masters. And so your self-esteem can be damaged. And a lot of times how we regroup or recoup that self-esteem is by things. Looking like you're good, but in real life, you're not good. You don't have to show everybody what you have by wearing it on your back, wearing it on your feet, or driving it, okay? Once again, we're talking about change your mindset about your self-esteem. If you look at the real wealthy, I'm not talking about rich, I'm talking about the billionaires. They don't have to prove anything to anybody because they've got it. It's the people that don't have it that want you to think they got it are the ones that are the peacocks out there strutting around. So once again, be smart. You may look good on the outside, but what's inside? How does your financial situation look? And I get it, guys. Sometimes you just have to buy things, or you want to buy things to make you feel good. But that comes from that systemic racism, the oppression, depression, and everything that we go through as black folk. Don't let them fool you. Don't let them trick you. That's what they want you to do. They want you to spend money on BS and not build any wealth. They want to keep dangling those shiny objects in front of your face. So now you're over there chasing the latest Jordans out there. Oh, Gucci got this. Oh, there's a new pair of red bottoms. I just saw Pharrell bought a $1 million Louis Vuitton bag. And it had like diamond, a lock with diamonds in it. The zippers were gold. Now he's got money. But in all honesty, come on now. Who needs $1 million bag? How many white folks, wealthy white folks, not rich, wealthy white folks are buying that bag? Probably very few, if any, because they understand the value of that dollar and what that dollar can do for them, as opposed to going around, I got a yellow Louis Vuitton bag that I paid $1 million for that can't fit nothing more in it than a bag of the same size that costs $20. But it's about status. It's about making yourself feel good. It's about, once again, self-esteem. Oh, I got this. And I get it. You pull up to a business meeting, you got a nice ride, that's you feeling good about yourself. You're looking good. Hopefully you perform well during the meeting, or you pull up in something raggedy or whatever, but that's something different. In terms of if you need the stuff for business, go ahead and get it. I remember when I started my mortgage business, the first one, and I'm not a big car guy. So I like, nice cars, but I only get a car probably every 8 to 10 years. I'm going to drive it till the wheels fall off. Some people, they get a new car every 2 years, and I always buy certified pre-owned. So I remember, I forgot what I had a truck. I think it was an Isuzu truck back in the day. And the truck was getting old, and I had money. We were making money hand over fist. And one day my wife was like, yo, buy yourself a new car. All right. You're the partner in this mortgage business. You're doing well. Just go buy a new car. All right. And I said, all right, you know what? It makes sense. It hurt me because I really didn't want to spend the money on that. I was doing other things with my money, building assets, but I went out and I bought a new car. And so I get it, man. And you felt better. I'm not going to lie. I felt better driving up to meetings and stuff like that. But the whole thing is I knew I could buy a car at any time I wanted. And that's the difference. When you're ready, then go ahead and buy it. But stop buying this nonsense when you can't pay your freaking electric bill, all right? And you got all of this nonsense. And that comes from lack of self-esteem. If you can fight, right? When I was growing up, I could hold my hands pretty well. I used to box as an amateur, and I didn't have to be a tough guy, and because that's not my nature, number one, but I didn't have to prove anything. And a lot of quote unquote tough guys have a self-esteem issue. They want to bully people. They want to prove that they're tough. When I knew that I could hold my own. I'm not going around trying to be a bully, starting fights and all that. And I was pretty low key when it came to that. But I knew what I possessed. I knew what I could do. And that's what wealthy people understand. Sam Walton was driving around an old raggedy truck. And I'm going to tell you this one story. I've mentioned it before, but I got to remember, not everybody listens to every episode. When I was a financial advisor / stockbroker, I was at Dean Witter Reynolds. They're now Morgan Stanley, and that was before I went to Merrill Lynch. And at the time, Sears owned Dean Witter. So we used to have an office in Sears stores, and this is back in the early 90s, where one day a week you would have to go into the Sears store, and you had an office in there, and you would work from there. And I actually got an older white gentleman that came in. He had on some jeans, some raggedy sneakers, and a T-shirt. And he started talking to me, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, this guy just has nothing to do here anyway, so I'm talking to him. And he proceeds to tell me about his assets, his portfolio. Come to find out, this guy was worth close to $100 million, and this was in the early 90s. And I said, well, what do you do for a living? And what he owned was a hanger manufacturing company, like coat hangers. He made plastic hangers, he made wooden hangers, and he made, the bendable, the metal hangers, wire coat hangers. And he was telling me about his facility. He became a client of mine, one of my largest clients. And his house was modest. I've been over his house many a time. You wouldn't know that he was worth that much. He drove something like a Buick, something basic, and you would never know that this man had over $100 million in assets. And it's just amazing what our mindset is. Not all of us, but a lot of our mindsets are when it comes to the self-esteem. He wasn't trying to prove anything to anybody. He could care less. You know why? Because he had it. Anything he wanted, he could reach out and touch it and get it. So once again, number 5, guys, change your mindset about your self-esteem. What you have doesn't have anything to do with who you are as a person, as a husband, a father, a partner, a spouse, a community, who you are in your community. So be proud of where you are, understanding that we're always trying to move forward. Number 6, and what we're talking about is some actions that we can take to improve our situation individually and as a community. All right. And the overall content we're talking about today is why blacks buy from other ethnicities and no other ethnicities buy from us. Number 6, make a habit to seek out and support black-owned businesses. Guys, we need to make a concerted effort to support black-owned businesses by making it a habit to shop black. I mentioned at the top of the show, only 2 cents of every dollar in the black community is used on black-owned businesses. How do you think we're going to start building? How do you think we're going to continue to grow and progress? One of the T-shirts I created in my collection says there's no revolution without economics. And what you have to understand is economics controls everything. Economics controls politics, which control policies. Economics controls education. Economics controls media, the narratives that we see out there. Why every time there's a crime on the news that you see all the black faces up there when black people commit it, but when you look at the news and somebody did something else and it was a white person, you don't see that up there. Okay, why do they interview somebody with no teeth talking about I seen it when it was a crime scene versus interviewing somebody that has a little more couth to them? It's all about the economics. So you got to understand, in order to build that economic power base, we have to build and support black-owned businesses. Jay, how does that going to help? So when that black-owned business continues to make money because we're supporting it, guess who they're probably going to hire? They're going to hire people that look like you and me, because that's what most businesses do. They hire people that they're comfortable with. You go into an Asian store on the corner, everybody working there is probably Asian. You go into an Indian liquor store or whatever, everybody working there is probably Indian. You got a black-owned store, black-owned business, you're probably going to see mostly black people working there. So now that business grows, they need to hire more people. They can hire people from the neighborhood that may not have gotten a chance working for somebody else. And now they can start having an income and start, contributing to society and building up the community. So number 6, guys, make a habit to seek out and support black-owned businesses. You're walking around with a supercomputer in your hand. I know you shop on Amazon, so I know you can find some black-owned businesses to shop with. So if you're like me or like most people, you go to the supermarket, maybe every 2 weeks, every week. I don't know how you do it, but I buy the same things pretty much. I know what my wife buys the same things. We may go off a little bit, and if we see something we want to try, but start making it a habit. Even if these black-owned products are not in the supermarket, if you're going to the supermarket on Saturday, yo, let me order this black-owned laundry detergent online. Let me go order, whatever it is. But start making a concerted effort and creating a habit to support black-owned businesses. And last but not least, number 7, guys, and I'm going to pontificate on this for a minute. Understand that this is a war. This is a war, guys. It's not a game. And guess who the prize is? You. Us. We are the prize. It is a war. All right. Everybody is out here using us to build wealth, and we're running around here like this is some type of game, right? You don't even think a war is going on. You just a happy Negro over here. Hey, I'm good, so everybody else should be good. I got mine, right? Or I got's mine, right? That's what we used to say back in the day. I got's mine. Yeah, but how about your brother? How about your sister, your mother, your father, your cousins, your family, your community? It's a war going on, y'all, and y'all don't even know it. You oblivious. You going to work 9 to 5, you getting your paper, and all is right with the world. You may have a little dust up here and there, but all is right with you. But how about your brother? How about our community? So every other ethnicity, guys, is living the American dream off our back. I said that before. You are the prize. We are revenue to every other ethnicity, not just in the United States, Canada, in the world. All right. They're extracting resources from our community and putting it into their community. In your neighborhood, if you live in a black neighborhood, how many black-owned stores are in that neighborhood? Probably none, or 1 or 2 at the max. But you see the Asians have stores in there. They selling you chicken wings and, barbecue ribs and all of that stuff. You got the Indian store over here. You got the Pakistani convenience store. You got the Korean nail shops in the neighborhood. They're extracting the resources out of our neighborhood and they're taking it somewhere else. And guess what? We let them do it. And we're happy to support them in doing so. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. And we're happy to support them. So when we go to the hood, when I'm driving through, I did a video, I'm going to put it up probably in a week or so. I'm driving through North Philly. I did a video that I never put up. And I was talking about all of the stores that were not boarded up. Yeah, this store, that's Korean owned, that's Asian owned, that's Indian owned, that's whatever. But everybody looks at our neighborhood as blight filled. But other people look at it as a gold mine. And that's the Asians, that's the Indians, that's the people that are coming in there putting Boost Mobile stores in your neighborhood because you got bad credit and can't get AT&T or Verizon or wherever. So they're coming in and they see the money. It's a war going on and you walking around like a happy Negro, smiling because you got yours and you're not worrying about your brother. All right. They're taking your land and your neighborhood and you just giving it up without a fight because once again, they see the money in there and you don't. There's no reason for anybody to have a store in our neighborhood if they're not making money. So you know that they're making money because they continue to be in our neighborhood. You got the pizza shops in the neighborhood. Like I said, you got the liquor stores where, in certain states where they're allowed. In Pennsylvania, we have what we call state stores. So the state controls the liquor. All right. So everything you see in our neighborhoods is making money and is owned by somebody else but us. And here's the silliest thing, guys. They're counting on us to continue to buy their products and services, even if they keep disrespecting the crap out of us. They know you guys are consistent. You guys will continue to keep buying from them when you go in their stores and they treat you like crap. But guess what? You'll be back next week to buy your barbecue short ribs. Or you'll be back next week to buy your 40 ounce or whatever, your beer, your wine, whatever you buy. You walk in the store, they eyeballing you like you about to steal some Cheez-Its or something. But you continue to support them. Umar Johnson said something, and also Dr. Claude Anderson. Where the black towns? Where the black towns in these major cities? You got, Chinatown, Koreatown, you got Little Italy, you got all the Polish town, you got all these different towns, right, inside the city. So all major cities, or not all, most of them, I know New York got a big Chinatown. Philly's got a big Chinatown. We got a big Italian-American open market. If y'all seen the original Rocky where he's running down the street and all those vendors, that's the Italian market. That's the Italian section of Philly, the South Philly, right? You got all of these different ethnicities that have their own buildings, they have their own banks, they have their own infrastructure, and they're being prosperous. And we're happily smiling to go in there and give them all your money. Why? Because we're not thinking on a deeper level. We're not thinking on a deeper level. We're only thinking superficially. Okay, I need my hoagie or my cheesesteak. I'm going to go to the John closest to me right on the corner here that is taking all the money out the community and don't do nothing for the community. Can't even sponsor a block party for the neighborhood, right? Can't even. That's one of my boys who lives in North Philly. They got an Asian store on the corner getting all the money out the community, and you got to pay a permit in the city if you want to do a block party, right? And they asked for a donation. They were like, nah. And this was a community organization. It wasn't just somebody walking in. So this was an organization. They taking money out of the community, but don't want to put nothing back. And you're willfully tap dancing and smiling in there every day, giving up all the resources out of the community while they're taking those resources, extracting it from our communities, and they taking it back to their community. Before I hit the last 5 minutes of today's show, let me just share my social media contact information and resource links. I'm going to keep it super simple, guys. Everything that I'm about to say is on the website, blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. If you're lazy, take the shortcut, go to bebconnect.com. I mentioned at the top of the show, my latest book is out, Unlocking the Power of ChatGPT, the ultimate prompting guide for beginners. Go to unlockingchatgpt.com. Also, BEB Academy, go to the front page of the website, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Also, my other flagship program, Brand Builder Academy Elite. If you want to build an e-commerce brand, physical products brand, or digital products brand, go to the top page of the website, blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. Also, my other flagship program, Pinpoint and Monetize Your Genius. Now, remember, your genius is the intersection of your passion and your talent. The problem is most people don't know how to monetize that. So if you want to build your business around your God-given passions or talents, groundbreaking program, top of the line program, a flagship program, one of the best out there. Pinpoint and Monetize Your Genius is also on the top page of the website, blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. Now, real quick, if you want to connect with me, anything long, hit me on my email, jjones@blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. That's JAYJONES at blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. Facebook, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Twitter, jjones001, JAYJONES001. Instagram, I got 2 IG accounts. The first one is J Jones for Real, JAYJONES, the number 4, REAL. Second one is Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Also connect with me on LinkedIn. Just go to LinkedIn, type in J Jones Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. And YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, family. I got additional content on YouTube that is not on the show. So go to YouTube, type in Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, and hit the subscribe button. Now, for all you first-time listeners, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint drops every Monday morning, 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with a new episode. So every Monday you get new heat from J Jones and Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. So wherever you're listening to this or watching this, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We come out on all your major podcast platforms and YouTube. All right, let's get back to the last section of the show. So today's show topic is why blacks buy from other ethnicities and no other ethnicity buys from blacks. So I started out giving you guys some statistics on black economics and also the racial wealth gap. And then I gave you guys 7 actions that we can take to improve our situation. And I'm just going to repeat them real quick, and then I'm going to go into my last story. So number 1, educate ourselves about what our current situation is so we can move forward. Number 2, become financially literate. Action number 3, start using your income to create revenue producing assets instead of spending it on stuff or junk. Action 4, change your mindset from being a super consumer to a producer. 5, change your mindset about your self-esteem. What you have does not improve your self-esteem in real life. Okay? So stop trying to look good and get good first, and then you buy all the other junk. Action number 6, make it a habit to seek out and support black-owned businesses. That's what all Black Entrepreneur Blueprint is about. Supporting and building black-owned businesses. And number 7, understand that this is a war, family. It's not a game, and you are the prize. Everybody is vying for your business, from the prison industrial complex that's locking us up at record numbers to the designers, Gucci and all the Prada, Balenciaga. They know you're going to spend money regardless of how they treat you, and everybody else who's making the American dream off of your back. That's what's going on right here. And I'm going to tell you this last quick story about economics and what's going on and how we need to understand and stick together. So in Philly, the Sixers are talking about building a new downtown stadium. All the stadiums are out in South Philly, where it's really a lot of open land where the stadium complex is. So we got the Sixers and Flyers out there in the Wells Fargo Center. We got Lincoln Financial Field for the Eagles, and we got Citizens Bank Park for the Phillies. They're all in the same place. Now the Sixers want to bring a downtown arena in the center city, and the place they want to put it is adjacent to Chinatown. Now, what do you think Chinatown said? Their representatives, because they have political representatives and they got a political action committee, they were like, no, we don't want it here because it's going to affect shopping, right? And I guarantee you, they're fighting it out right now, but I guarantee you that if the Chinatown puts enough pressure on the city, I guarantee you that arena is not going to go right next to Chinatown. And that's what true power is. It's economic power and it's financial power. So when you have political action committees, when you own the buildings in Chinatown, when you have your own banking infrastructure, and you have your own quote unquote real community, you can have power like that. In certain areas, how many times have they displaced black people to put highways in or to build, structures that the community didn't want? They did it because you didn't have the infrastructure or the power, the economic power and the political power. But you get the political power with the economic power. Remember, there's no revolution without economics. Y'all got to understand this. And this is why it's so important to build and support black-owned businesses. So I guarantee you, and I'll keep y'all abreast of what's going on with the Sixers' new downtown Center City arena. But right now, they're in for a fight because the Chinese at Chinatown, they ain't trying to hear that. Now, remember, guys, I say this each and every week because it's true. We get more and more downloads because of you, the BEB family. I appreciate you guys so much. Please continue to spread the word about the podcast, the new website, blackentrepreneurblueprint.com, the whole ecosystem with the online courses and resources to help you elevate your entrepreneur IQ. Remember, it's not about me. It's not about you. It's about us. It's about building an economic power base in the worldwide black community by building and supporting black-owned businesses. Love you guys. See you same time next week. Peace.